Hey mamas, welcome to week 3 of the Heroic Mama in Training program. My name is Claire and I am honored to be here with you. This week we're going to be diving into Module 1, Eudaimonology, Operationalizing Virtue via Ancient Wisdom, Modern Science, and Practical Optimizing Tools. Before we get into the core goodness today, I want to start off our practice as we always do with a quick breathe meditation. So as you feel comfortable and are able, I invite you to close your eyes, taking a deep inhale in through our nose, down deep into our bellies, exhaling back out through our nose, releasing any tension, shaking things out. Inhaling in through our nose again, allowing the lungs to fill up down deep into our bellies. Exhaling, allowing the energy to flow through our minds, bodies. Inhaling, imagining a string tugging us tall into alignment. Exhaling, dropping from the top of our head and into our heart, allowing our heroic heart to awaken here. Inhaling, allowing our heroic heart to guide us to our eudaimon, our good soul. And exhaling, smile, opening our eyes, beginning our journey together. I appreciate your patience with me this evening. My brain's a little bit tired after a long day, and I lost my way in the middle of the breeze meditation. So I think that speaks to how wonky my brain is feeling at this point. But that's really why we're here, isn't it? Is how do we continue to show up as our best? How do we continue to move through our days when we're tired, when our children aren't sleeping, when we are facing struggles that are outside of our control? How do we continue to live in alignment with our highest self? So that's why we're here, and that's why I'm still here recording this video with you guys tonight. This is the work, and I love it, and I'm honored to be able to do it every day. So with that longer introduction today, let's jump in. We've got 10 big ideas to share today. The first big idea is to know the game we're playing and to play it well. And for this exercise, I want to bring a little sense of playfulness to our exercise and kind of imagine that we've got a little bit of a debate going, kind of like high school or college debate team competition. And at the first podium up on the stage, we've got Aristotle, who's representing ancient wisdom, the philosophy of ancient wisdom. And across from him on the stage, at a separate podium, is Martin Seligman, who is representing positive psychology and modern science. And you are sitting in the judge's chair with the buzzer kind of thing. All right. So we've got this set up for our game. Everybody's ready. They're primed. And you have the question. So you ask the question of the contestants, what's the ultimate purpose of our lives? Why are we here? First buzzer rings in from Aristotle. He's quick on the draw. And he responds, the purpose of life is eudaimonia via arete. And if you're anything like me, you're sitting there thinking, huh? I'm going to need some more details, Aristotle. He says, Aristotle responds that eudaimonia is the summum bonum, the highest good. It is the bringing our soul to its greatest expression in our lives. And arete is the practical, actionable steps that we take, living with virtue, moment to moment to moment. And through living with arete, we achieve eudaimonia, which is the summum bonum, the highest good, the purpose of our lives. Wow, super compelling, Aristotle. Let's jump over to Martin Seligman. What does Martin Seligman have to say about what's the purpose of life? And Seligman would respond, that the ultimate purpose in life is flourishing via virtues in action. And once again, you're going to have to break this down for me. I'm not a modern scientist. What is flourishing via virtues in action? Flourishing can really be described, according to Seligman's work, as bringing the best version of yourself into the present moment, expressing it moment to moment to moment, allowing yourself to give your greatest gifts and greatest service to the world is flourishing. And the virtues in action are very similar to arete. They are the values and meaning that we attribute to the actions that we take. And by giving meaning and purpose to the actions we take and living in alignment with our virtues, we achieve flourishing within our lives. So that is the game that we're after here. And what we're going to be learning over the next 9 big ideas is how do we play the game well? How do we play that game of eudaimonia and flourishing well? How do we live with our virtues in action and express arete moment to moment to moment? Which leads us to our second big idea, which is warning. Warning. I don't think that I need to really harp on this too much, but our society is not a well society. In fact, our society is sicker than it has ever been before, and our children are the first generation to be predicted to die younger than us, which is astounding and hurts my heart so much. So when we start living in pursuit of eudaimonia and in pursuit of flourishing, and we prioritize our actualization over our entertainment, we will make different decisions. And these decisions might not always win us the popularity contest. And they might be confusing to other people who aren't on this same path, who haven't chosen to play this game. They're playing the game of happiness. That's what our society is selling as the game that we need to play right now. And happiness in the present moment. That often leads to hedonic happiness, which is the pleasure-seeking, the consumerisms, the addictive style of happiness. But it's not a sustained happiness. We can see that played out here in our society with the debt and the sickness and the disease that's prevalent everywhere around. No, thank you, Marshall. And it reminds me of the famous quote from Krishnamurti. It says, "It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. It is up to us to choose to play a different game, to choose to play the game of flourishing rather than the game of happiness, and to make decisions for our days and our families and our lives in alignment with this new game that we're deciding to play." So how do we do this? How do we make different decisions and choose to play this different game? Which leads us to our third big idea, which is to introduce you to your new BFF, heroic you. As you find yourself making different decisions and maybe perhaps struggling to find a place in a social support system with these different lifestyle decisions, you here become the best friend that you can always return to. This is your center. This is your heroic best. Right inside. It's always waiting for you. And we have this really fun exercise where we talk about like high-fiving your inner daimon, your heroic daimon, your eudaimon, your good soul. Every time you make a decision that's in alignment with your virtues and values, you imagine giving yourself an inner high five. Or if you're like me and you need a little bit more pep in the step, I like walk around giving myself high fives all the time. High fives, that's like me. That's like me to decide to prioritize sleep over watching TV. That's like me to prioritize movement for my family over sitting on the couch when I'm tired and that's like me. What is it that the most heroic version of you would do? And when you live in alignment with that, celebrate the win with a high five, with a happy dance, with whatever way it makes you feel yummy and locks in that this is a celebration. It's something to have fun with, that this is a playful game that we are playing and engaged in, and that we're not slogging through our lives. And all of our work together is really about getting to a place where all of these new behaviors that are work right now and they're new, that we get to a place where we kind of duct tape them into place and it just becomes simply who we are and not an evolution or transforming anymore. So as we become this new version of ourselves and we are curious and we're seeking of who is my heroic self? How do I become my heroic self? And even like, what are the virtues that my heroic self lives by? For many of us, that was never part of our education, to ask about what virtues we live by and how do we live by those virtues once we know them. So we invite us to the game to become a virtue connoisseur. And when we think of a connoisseur in our culture, we often think of wine or really rich, fine food. But instead, let's try and be a little playful and think about becoming a connoisseur of virtues. And connoisseur actually comes from the same root as the word cognition, which means to learn and to know. And so when we become a connoisseur of virtue, we become an expert who has fine taste in virtues, which is kind of a pretty cool little thing to say about yourself. And virtue is the median between the vice of excess and the vice of deficiency. It's that middle ground. We all are quite aware that the vice of deficiency of a virtue is often a very bad thing. But oftentimes we can become too much of a virtue, too virtuous, and we become those pious, untethered types of people. We really want to be striving to live in the happy median and to become grounded, energetic beings in our world. So when we are pulling from ancient wisdom and modern science, they both have core virtues that they say are the path to living the life of the highest good. Ancient wisdom has 4 cardinal virtues from Greek and Stoic philosophy. The first is wisdom. This is the most essential virtue according to ancient wisdom, that all other virtues are simply examples of displaying wisdom within that trait. The second cardinal virtue is courage. It is Aristotle's number 1 virtue. The courage is really the ability to get things done, whether you feel like it or not. It's that impulse that drives you forward in the face of sometimes the greatest adversities. The third cardinal virtue from ancient wisdom is justice. And in a way, justice can mean getting along with people, but really at its deep root, it means love. It means loving your neighbor, loving yourself, loving the world and earth, justice, equality for all. And the final cardinal virtue from ancient wisdom is temperance, which can mean, it's an old-fashioned word, and really means moderation. And we can even take that a little bit further and say to self-mastery. You master yourself, and in that way can live with temperance and moderation. So flashing forward a few thousand years to modern science agrees those 4 cardinal virtues are core virtues to living a life of the highest good. But they also add 2 additional virtues. To wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, modern science adds transcendence as a cardinal virtue. And transcendence means to know that we are part of something bigger than ourselves, that we are not solely focused in ourselves, but we are here to give our greatest gifts and greatest service to something bigger than ourselves. And the 6th cardinal virtue, according to modern science, is humanity. And in this way, they really are describing the connection, the love between all humans, organisms, and the way of being in our world, loving what is. So 6 cardinal virtues from Ancient Wisdom and Modern Science. Here at Optimize, we really love streamlining and simplifying as much as we can. And so we put it down to 4 core virtues to live by to achieve the highest good within our lives. The first is wisdom. Same one as before, same meaning as from Ancient Wisdom. The second is self-mastery, that in order to master ourselves is an integral part to be able to live with wisdom, courage, and love, which are the final 2 virtues, courage and love. So as we become virtue connoisseurs, these are the 4 that really speak to all of our hearts. They are universal among all human beings, of wisdom, self-mastery, courage, and love. Living by these 4 core virtues will guide you on a path to becoming your heroic self. So as we dive deeper into this idea of virtues, we have an idea of top 5 virtues times 2. So science says that there are the top 5 virtues correlated to our well-being. People who live with these top 5 virtues display the most, display the highest levels of well-being in their health, their wellness, and their love of work. I'm missing the word there, but their love of job, their love of work, their the pleasure they experience in life. Flourishing. I think we'll go with flourishing rather than pleasure. And there are 2 types of virtues. We have unique virtues that are individual to each of us. And then we also have universal virtues that at the top 5 are the most common amongst the most successful people in the world. So let's first dive into the unique virtues, the ones that are individual to each of us. There's actually an assessment that you can take that is going to be our practical work assignment for this week. You can go on to the viacharacters.org, virtuesinaction.org, and take a free assessment. This is the work from Martin Seligman and positive psychologists broke down those 6 core virtues that we just spoke about into 24 different virtues, specific virtues. And by taking this assessment, you get ranked from 1 to 24 on highest to lowest. There is no bad answers. There are no wrong answers. If you have something in the 24th spot, it doesn't mean that you don't have that virtue. It just means that it's not as prevalent in your life as the others based on this assessment. And maybe you're thinking, well, how unique can it be if there's only 24 virtues to choose from? I mean, it's kind of cookie cutter, right? Like, it's not really worth our time and can't really tell us too much about us as an individual, could it? But it turns out that with these 24 options, and there are over, I'm going to get this right, 600 sextillion combinations potential of those 24 virtues. 600 sextillion combinations possible. It's incredibly unique. And we're going to be asking you to share with each other in this exercise, the top 5 of our results. And within the top 5, there is a possible combinations of 5 million different combinations potential. The answers that you receive from this assessment are you. They are personal to who you are. And they also change and evolve as you change and evolve. This year was my 3rd year taking the VIA characters assessment over a span of 6 years. And mine have changed. Love of learning is still my number 1 virtue, but the other top 4 have changed order. There's new ones up there. So as we change and evolve and grow, so too does the assessment reflect those changes. So I invite you to take the assessment. It takes maybe 10, 15 minutes and super easy. The results are free for the basic top 5. And you can also buy more and get more information if it really intrigues you. So in that way, we can identify what our individual and unique top virtues are, and then we can get curious about how do we bring our daily actions into alignment so we can live through our virtues and put them into action on a daily basis. So that's our unique virtues. There are also top 5 virtues most correlated with well-being of the most successful people, according to scientists these days. And those 5 virtues are gratitude, hope, zest, curiosity, and love. And for our next 5 big ideas, we're going to be taking a deep dive into each of these core virtues. We'll talk about the vice of deficiency of each and the vice of excess, and also how we can use one practical optimizing tool to begin implementing today these gratitudes, these virtues. Gratitude being our first virtue that we're going to dump into. So Robert Evans is a leading researcher on the science of gratitude, which is super cool that there's a science of gratitude these days, right? And he tells us that keeping a gratitude journal as little as once a week and writing down as few as 5 things that you're grateful for as little as 6 to 8 weeks can boost our happiness up to 25%. One journal, once a week, 5 to 6 items for less than 2 months can boost your happiness by 25%. That's insane. That's crazy. Here's some more crazy stats. So grateful people sleep 30 minutes more. They also exercise 33% more. And in fact, science is now showing that gratitude improves every single measurable area of our well-being. It's huge, it's important, and it's so easy. It's free, it's simple. So how do we go about implementing this virtue into our lives a little bit more? One idea to play with is our vocabulary, using words of gratitude on a regular basis throughout our day. Words such as blessed or gifts that we've received or are giving. And a wonderful exercise in vocabulary is simply saying thank you. Thank you. As you go throughout your day, thank you. Thank you for this challenge. Thank you for this gift. Thank you for this opportunity to grow. Thank you for this cuddle. Thank you. Bringing thank you into our lives as a simple mantra is just one of the simplest ways to put gratitude into practice on a daily basis. So what is the vice of deficiency of gratitude? And that's really entitlement, where we think that we should get everything that we have gotten and we should get more. And we're always looking out for getting more. That entitlement is the vice of deficiency. And the vice of excess is really an unappreciation, where you take everything... No, actually I got that one wrong. Oh, the vice of excess of gratitude is just it's very ungrounded from where our world is today. When we live too much in the heavens, we forget that we are here on earth right now. So keeping us buoyantly grounded. Gratitude, living in the virtuous mean. Our second virtue here is hope. Now, hope has 3 components: goals, agency, and pathways. The first, goals, is a vision for a better future. We have to believe that our reality can change and have goals for how we go about doing that. We second need to have agency. We need to have the confidence within ourselves that we can make those changes happen. And the third component of hope, pathways. We need to be flexible and creative. Multiple plans. I forget what military leader said that, the best laid plans hardly ever never survive first contact with the enemy. And that's the same in our lives today as mothers. We need to know that we've got the flexibility and a backup plan A through Z, creative flow to move towards that goal. The vice of deficiency of hope is really hopelessness. We don't believe that our reality can change. We have no visions or goals for the future, and we're really just surviving and existing here in this moment. And the vice of excess of hope is really just that over-optimism. It is the just fairy princess magical thinking, someone's coming to rescue me. We don't have the agency within ourselves, and we hardly make those different pathways. So how do we go about living with more hope? What is a practical tool that we can put into place to create pathways, give ourselves the confidence in our agency, and live towards our goals? And this brings us to the work of Gabrielle Oettingen, who developed what she calls WOOP, the WOOP process, where we rub our goals up against reality. Now, WOOP is an acronym. It stands for wish, outcome, obstacle, and plan. We need to start for the wish, and this is where we really bring our magical thinking, where we take that magic wand and wave it and we say, if we could just create whatever we want to create, what would it be? No restraints, no reality, dream. Dream here and dream big. We next move down to the first is the outcome. From this wish, what is it that we're desiring to receive? What is it that we're desiring to create? What is it that this vision will bring into reality? Once we're grounded in what our outcome is that we're looking for, we run it up against obstacles. Obstacles will come up. And particularly if you're a big dreamer, particularly if you can envision with a big magic wand and create a reality that's very different than your current reality, there are going to be many obstacles that you have in your path. It's just part of life. And science now says that by facing the obstacles early, accepting that they're coming, and preparing yourself for them, you are much more likely to succeed rather than just wishful thinking. So we list out the obstacles that we're going to face. And then the final step is to set up an intentional plan. How am I going to face those obstacles with the resources that I have, with the skills that I have? Where do I need to get help? Where do I need support? What is it that needs to happen to face those obstacles so I can continue on my path to achieving my goal? And in this way, running the WOOP process allows us to live in hope more and more consistently. Our third virtue tonight is zest. Now, zest is the number one virtue most correlated with our physical well-being. Energy is our number one predictor of our well-being, and it's grounded in our physiology. Our physiology drives our psychology. And one really great example of this is that sleep is said to know, from Matthew Walker's book on Why We Sleep, he says that sleep is the bridge from despair to hope. And there's some new fascinating research happening. I have no idea how they do this, but apparently movement releases what they're calling hope molecules within our brains. So moving our bodies actually makes us more hopeful. So the vice of deficiency of zest is really lethargy. It's just that feeling where you can't even get out of bed in the morning. You're exhausted and tired. And the vice of excess is when we're just flying away, when we can't settle in and we're just all over the place. That's the excess of zest. And the optimizing tool that we use with Zest to bring this into daily actions is buoyancy. This comes from Barbara Fredrickson's work, where she talks about that we want to be buoyant. We want to be fully energized and alive, but we also want to be deeply grounded and rooted. We don't want to fly away. So one of the ways that I like to imagine this is like a helium balloon that's tied onto a string, and then at the bottom of the string is this big boulder. It's holding it steady. The string is taut, the helium balloon is pulling and pulling, and it's got this energy to it that you just know if that string got snipped, that balloon is off. That's really what we want to bring with our energy. Energized and deeply rooted. Zest is the way we go about doing that. Our fourth virtue tonight is curiosity. Happy people are open to life's context. We're curious, we're playful, we're kind of like, that didn't go so great. I wonder why. Instead of leading our lives from shame and guilt and scarcity, we're living in this abundance place where it's curiosity and kind of, this wonderment about what life could bring. We have this thought that data is awesome and everything is simply data. When we take out the emotional component, it's just data. If it was happening to somebody else, we wouldn't be so emotionally attached to it. So really recognizing that we can approach obstacles with a playful curiosity and have fun at this game of life. One of the ways that we can think about this is that instead of slamming down a hammer on what's happening, we can simply shine a flashlight and get a little bit more detail, look into those shadowy areas and get more data and knowledge from the experience. So the vice of deficiency of curiosity is really to have to numb yourself, that we don't want to look at the data, that we can't handle it anymore, that we need a break. And that's been something that I've thought for so long, like I just need a break. Can't handle anything more right now, and I would, whether it was the glass of wine or the TV or the social media or the shopping, there's so many things in our world these days to numb ourselves out with. So that is the vice of deficiency. And the vice of excess of curiosity is really rumination and can lead to perfectionism, of being too curious. We get stuck thinking about things and we don't move ourselves into action. And that leads us to our tool for curiosity, our optimizing tool. And it's 1, 2, 3, optimize. We don't want to get ourselves stuck. We don't want to get ourselves in a rumination phase, both a positive rumination or a negative rumination. We really want to take a moment. 1, 2, 3. I'm curious. I'm open. I'm playful. And then optimize. Move ourselves forward. Test out some more. Get some more data. Be in the game and have fun playing the game. And finally, our last virtue is love. And for this virtue, we really pull a lot from Barbara Fredrickson's work, and she wrote Love 2.0. And in her work, she says that we can extend love to every single micro moment of interactions that we have throughout our day. That it's not just these big relationships, our child, our partner, our families, that every single moment is an opportunity to express a micro moment of love. So we're going to bring our playfulness to the game one more time, and we've broken down love into 6 different categories that we can kind of lean into and love into a little bit. The first is love 0.0, and this is really self-love. This is the idea that we cannot give what we do not have. And it reminds me so much of the quote from Anais Nin, where she says that in order to be able to say I love you, I first must be able to say the I. Self-love is the foundation from which we get to love others from. So getting a strong foundation that's abundant and thriving means that we can love more, love further, love more often, love more playfully, ourselves and everyone else. Our next love is love 1.0. And that's really love of our family and close friends. And the way that we can show love 1.0 is through our time and our presence. We live in a highly distracted society, and being able to be fully present with someone and look them in the eye and say, I'm here with you. I'm choosing to give myself fully to this moment here with you is an opportunity and expression of love. Love 2.0 are those micro moments of connection that Barbara Fredrickson speaks of in her book. And these are really given through presence and connection. So an example would be in the checkout line at the grocery store. Instead of whipping out our phone with those 3 extra minutes or 1 extra minute, we simply take the opportunity to take some deep breaths, be present, smile and connect with our store clerk, maybe have some comment or something nice to say to them, or simply just be there. Give your presence and connection to that interaction. Love 3.0 is our next love category. And this is really the love of encouragement, showing people what's possible. When you break down encourage, it really means to give courage and to imbue that for somebody else. That when somebody else is doubting, when they're fearful or unsure, you have an opportunity to give them a little boost of courage. And courage is love 3.0. Our next playful idea is love infinity.0. And this idea is that we love it all. We love the good stuff and we love the hard stuff, knowing that obstacles make us stronger. OMS is our mantra that literally stands for obstacles make me stronger. OMS. We love it all. Love infinity.0. And our final love category is love 8.0. I might have to change this up for motherhood a little bit, but this idea is that we spend on average 8 hours at work every day if we have a traditional office job. For moms, maybe this will change to love 24.0, but loving our world in a way, how do we give our greatest gifts and greatest service to the world? Loving into our world by loving into our jobs, knowing that the roles that we are playing are important and they are an opportunity to express our highest selves and give our greatest gifts and greatest service to the world. So all of that, all those 10 big good ideas, if I don't say so myself, we have know the game we are playing and play it well. Warning, our society is a sick society. We have meeting our new BFF, heroic you. We jumped into virtue as a connoisseur, and we learned about the top 5 virtues, both unique and universal. And we next dove into the 5 universal virtues: gratitude, hope, zest, curiosity, and love. This is Eudaimonology, the study of a good soul. I hope you had a great time tonight. Thank you for your patience with my little brain trips that we took tonight, and I look forward to seeing all of you next week.